What's up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and today we're going to talk about how you can shape your game and take it to the next level, starting with the most iconic and most trusted shot in disc golf, and that is the Hyzer. But before we dive in, we have to ask the most important question of the day. How are you doing today, Toby? Are you having a good one? All right. So you're here because you want to start being a little more competitive, whether that is to beat your friends, or you've thought that you're going to start playing in tournaments, or you've been playing in tournaments and you want to take your game to that next level. What I want to do with the Shape Your Game series is give you a multitude of shots and tactics that you can use to start really finding lower scores while you're out there on the course. I want you to picture this series as if we were stepping up to address a job, like you had to fix a job or something in your home, something broke, and you are deciding, all right, how am I best going to tackle this? You head to the closet, you reach in and you pull out your toolbox that has all of the tools that you can need. You're not necessarily sure right off the rip what tools you're going to need, so you try to build the most well-rounded and developed tool bag that you can. And that's exactly how we want to address the disc golf game. And depending on what type of work you do, the tool can differ, but I really think that this is the duct tape or glue that holds all of it together. So if you're new to disc golf, you may be asking, what is a Hyzer? And if you're familiar, you can go ahead and skip to the next chapter. Why should I use a Hyzer? A Hyzer shot is simply that crescent or arc-shaped shot going out and around. How we create a Hyzer is usually we'll take the disc and we'll put that outside edge or the edge that's away from our hand and put it down. This causes the disc to fly out and around in this curved shape. If you're newer to disc golf, lots of your discs are going to Hyzer out, where they're going to fall into this crescent shape. The reason that we say the outside edge of the disc down is because if you're throwing with a backhand, then the outside of the edge of the disc is down this way, but you can also throw a Hyzer with a forehand where it's still the outside edge is down and it's going to arc the opposite direction than a backhand is going to go. Depending on what the hole is asking for, a Hyzer can mean different things. But it's not just throwing a Hyzer, we have to ask why we should throw a Hyzer.
We want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. It's playoff season, gentlemen, the time where legends are made, underdogs rise, and your fantasy team's fate hangs in the balance. But while you're fighting to avoid last place punishments, don't let your grooming game take the L. Manscaped has the ultimate grooming toolkit designed to handle your full body shave days. So keep your grooming game tight, even if your lineup isn't. The new bundle has a dual thread approach between the Beard Hedger and the Lawnmower 5.0 because every great play starts with the right tools. Now, what's super important for me is that the Beard Hedger Pro actually has 20 different hair length settings. So whether you want to go for the full bushy beard or you want to tighten things up because you want to get those post-game celebrations to their maximum. The Lawnmower 5.0 has interchangeable blade heads, which allows you to handle those sensitive areas without having any fret or work. And I don't know about you, but whenever I hear about these products, I get a little nervous, and thankfully, Manscaped has skin-safe technology so that you don't have to worry in those sensitive areas. And I know for me, a super important aspect is that it's waterproof. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. These even work in the shower. So you can take your grooming game to the shower and not having to worry about leaving little hairs all over the sink. And best of all, Manscaped has a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try this all risk-free. So don't fumble your grooming game this playoff season. Head over to manscaped.com so you can grab the Beard and Balls bundle and join over the 11 million men who use Manscaped for their grooming needs. And guess what? We got a code. You can use code ROBBIEC to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's right, code ROBBIEC to get 20% off plus free shipping. So whether you're out there chasing the Lombardi or you're trying to look sharp for date night, Manscaped's got you covered.
Looking at this basket, 340 feet away from us, there is wide open space straight down the middle, and then there's big Hyzer space to the right and big Hyzer space to the left. This means that if I use the Hyzer, I'm going to eliminate certain variables that I don't have to deal with in throwing a straight shot. For instance, in trying to throw the straight shot with my Eagle, I'm going to throw it nice and flat and try to just aim it directly at the basket. You can see there that I threw it too low and I actually underturned it a little bit. Instead of giving the chance for the disc to really fly and get out there, I didn't throw it with enough power. Even if I try to take that same method, once again, with a different Eagle, you can see that we gave it significantly more power and we got there that time, but it ended up fitting left of the basket. Now, these are all factors that I have to consider when throwing straight at the basket. And we'll talk about those factors that I'm considering here in a second. Now, one of the best parts about this series is that it's not always just about having the right disc in your hands, because choosing the shot shape can change everything. When we lean on the Hyzer, we can take these same discs and simply adjust what line we're going for. And instead of having to always think about the shortest possible route to the basket, I can take the same disc, instead of going flat, put it on a good bit more Hyzer, hang it out much wider, give it more height, and know that it's gonna fight towards the basket. Now that shot feels significantly easier to execute, and I'm able to do it more and more, even with this headwind coming at me, that we'll talk about why the Hyzer can be more reliable. You can see there that there is a tree that I'm having to get around. And not only is there a tree that I'm having to get around that way, but there's another tree that actually gets in the way on the backside of the basket. And what's also great is that a Hyzer doesn't just have to be a backhand thing, it can also be a forehand idea. In case, for instance here, where trying to get around that tree is a little difficult, especially coming to this headwind, it's pushing everything up, holding it a little straighter, a little longer, and then there's another tree on the backside that makes it harder for this to come in. I can instead go a little more height and push this forehand Hyzer out to the left side. Hyzer is quite simply the shot shape, not necessarily the disc. Now you'll hear folks say that the straight shot is the hardest shot to throw in disc golf, and that's not entirely untrue. Not only is the straight shot one of the hardest shots to throw because of the pressure that's on it, where it's like, hey, you just gotta throw it right down there, right, nice and easy. But because the throwing of a disc, there are so many factors involved in its flight that we're constantly trying to change and adjust all of those different facets of throwing the disc in order to create what is a truly straight shot. For instance, when throwing a disc in general, as a right-handed player, when I throw a backhand shot, the way that I'm spinning the disc is making it naturally want to go to the left. And there are discs that are designed to want to go even more into that flight path, or to resist that flight path and go the opposite direction. So based on what I want the disc to do on how I'm throwing it, added onto what the disc wants to do, this internal struggle can cause a ton of different issues in getting the disc to fly straight. Now, of course, we can adjust that a little bit and play with those tendencies to create the results that we're looking for, which is almost exactly what a Hyzer is doing. We're throwing in a method with our backhand for right-handed players. Left-handed players is gonna make the one a disc naturally want to go to the right. But when we put the disc on Hyzer, which is that outside edge of the disc going down, we are actually allowing the disc to lean even more into that, wanting to go in the natural spin that we're putting it on. If we take a disc and put it on Hyzer and then we throw in a method that's Hyzer, we are putting even more factors into, for right-handed players, making that disc want to go to the left. And this creates reliability. For instance, I've got 4 discs here, and trying to throw all 4 of these discs just flat, you can see that that disc goes straight but pulls to the right a little bit. We go with this disc that just goes dead straight and has a little bit of finish at the very end. Our third disc goes straight and then really fights off at the end. And then our last disc is trying to fight left its entire time. Trying to get the disc to go straight, and just the slightest bit of difference in how I angle my arm could drastically change the result of the shot. Now, these same 4 discs thrown on Hyzer, we can see that we're going to get much more similar shot shapes. The consistency that I'm finding is what's going to allow me to find more success while I'm out there on the course. And I'm not trying to say that every hole has a Hyzer line to it, because as we saw even in the example of why you should choose a Hyzer, on that hole, the Hyzer line, while still allowing a consistent result, didn't necessarily make it the easiest result to get close to the basket, because there were trees blocking both the left and the right side. But there are certainly moments where having the Hyzer is absolutely the best play. Let's take a look at hole 11. The basket sits behind a large tree next to a road. Now, if I'm thinking about disc golf in the shortest possible place, where I want to throw as little as possible and I want to go straight at the basket every chance I get, there is technically a line here. I can throw through these trees kind of straight to the basket, and I'm going to try to see if I can do so with my buzz. The problem is I have to worry about what angle am I throwing the flat shot on? Is it high enough? How far do I have to throw it? When do I need the disc to hit the ground? Is it going to move one way or another? Nope. There, I didn't trust that I could throw the shot through the gap. And of course, it hyzered out. Let's try again. Boom, we made it through the gap. But of course, even though I made it through the gap, I didn't throw a straight enough disc, so it faded out. Let's try this with dunes. All right, it was perfect. It was straight, but then it went a little too far. So distance control became an issue. Trying again with another dune. There. Took me 4 shots and trying to go through the gap on the right side, and I struggled to get the disc close. If I go off of my first shot, I'm taking a 3 at the absolute best, and I'm taking a 4 for one of the cases, most likely because I'm out of bounds. Thinking about this from a Hyzer standpoint, I'm throwing sort of away from the basket into this wide open space to the left when choosing to go with the Hyzer line. This can seem counterintuitive. Why would you throw away from the basket? But when I throw on Hyzer and I put overstable discs, especially which are ones that want to lean into what I'm doing even more so, that allows me to consistently know what's going to happen. So now I realistically only have to worry about how wide do I want to swing the shot, because I know that it's going to lean in and come back on this Hyzer every single time. I swing it out wide, it skips around, and I'm sitting about 15 to 20 feet away from the basket. I swing it out wide. Could have swung it a little too inside, and I needed to swing it a little wider because it faded back, but it was a more overstable disc. This is a great example once again. It sat. It slipped out of my hand. It was a notably bad shot, but it still got over to the basket. It gives me a wide open look for the putt. And last but not least, my 4th shot. I now have 4 shots where one of them went poorly and ended up OB, but it was possibly OB. We'll see when we get up there. Right next to the basket, and then the other 3 are easily within striking distance. Why? Because I know what to expect. And even the one that messed up, the true error is I just can push it a little wider because I know what it's going to do. I just was a little too aggressive in throwing the shot. When we know what our discs are going to do and the shots become more reliable, our scores will also become more consistent. Now, you've seen me throw a lot of Hyzers, and I want to give one quick tip before we wrap up the video to show you sort of a secret sauce into throwing more consistent Hyzers, especially making sure that you can control the height and the power on them. You're gonna hear me talk about this a lot in the Shape Your Game series, but the follow through, which is the end of the shot after the shot has released out of my hand, it's this gas or exhaust ending at the end of the shot. You can draw shapes with your follow through that will often help you throw better angles on your shots. For instance, if I'm trying to throw Hyzers, I'm gonna think about drawing a slash from low to high. Low to high, and making sure that when I do this, it's very difficult to stay upright and do this shot effectively. I almost, when I do this, have to lean into it, and my chest bends a little bit, my lower back extends, and here I'm able to throw that shot shape. However, when I want to throw the shot flat, I think about throwing my hand on this flat plane, and it becomes way easier to find the angle, because even if I bent all the way here and then I think about trying to throw the disc flat, you can notice this feels awkward. This feels uncomfortable. You can even do this while you're sitting here watching this video. Stand up a little bit, feel it out with me. As I go to throw the shot, getting to flat seems difficult, but if I know that I want to follow through flat, then as I go to throw the shot, I'm going to stand up a little bit and bring the arm through nice and flat. And of course, if I want to throw the opposite of Hyzer, but we'll talk about that in a future episode, I'm going to throw sort of down. I don't want to throw a roller straight into the ground, but I'm going to be coming sort of high to low a little bit more. Thinking about your follow through is one of the biggest keys to trying to accent and throw Hyzers in the game. If you are worried or you find yourself throwing Hyzer straight into the ground, think about drawing a shape with your hand and watch as your body follows along. Draw the shape with the hand, and the disc goes out and around. So that's gonna wrap it up for episode 1 of Shaping Your Game. It's all about adding that Hyzer to your toolbox. Now, obviously, we've said it multiple times throughout the video, the Hyzer isn't the answer to everything. Even though it is the most reliable shot in disc golf, we can't always lean on Old Reliable. The courses we play, the opportunities that we're gonna find ourselves in when we maybe have a bad shot or even sometimes a really good shot can leave us in scenarios where a hyzer is not perfect or even the preferred shot. And that's exactly why we have the shot that we're gonna cover in the next episode of Shape Your Game. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.